This man partied harder than a rock star. Told journalists to leave him alone on live television.
Just leave me alone, I know what to do.
Missed his own championship celebration because he was too busy getting drunk on his yacht, and somehow became one of the greatest drivers in F1 history. Today's drivers practice media training. Kimi Räikkönen was practicing the art of not giving a damn.
You've had a much better season so far than David. Is that just a matter of luck, or is it because you're a better driver?
I don't know.
And that's exactly why he won. This is the story of Formula One's last true rebel. The Iceman who melted the sport's corporate facade and proved that sometimes breaking every rule is the only way to win. October 17th, 1979. Espoo, Finland. While most future F1 drivers are born into racing dynasties with silver spoons and karting academies, Kimi Räikkönen enters the world in a working-class family. His father, Matti, worked as a road construction foreman. His mother, Paula, was an office clerk. No racing pedigree, no family connections, just a Finnish kid who would rather be left alone. At age 10, Kimi began karting, and the rest was history. Kimi was immediately unnaturally fast. While other kids were learning the basics, Kimi was already finding racing lines that shouldn't exist. He started with mini motocross, tearing around Finnish dirt tracks with the same casual brilliance he'd later show at Monaco. But karting was where he truly belonged. By his teens, Kimi was dominating Finnish karting championships, then expanding across Scandinavia. By 1998, the Nordic Championship fell to him, then the European Championship in 1999. Kimi had this weird relationship with winning. He acted like it was no big deal, which somehow made it even more impressive. No celebrations, no emotional outbursts, no grand speeches about dreams coming true. Just a quiet Finnish kid who showed up, won races, and went home. But while every other young talent was busy networking, schmoozing team owners, and playing the political game, Kimi was simply racing. He had no agent, no PR strategy, no master plan. His lap times became his only campaign. This purely talent-driven approach was unheard of. It defied the entire F1 ecosystem, which is built on money and connections. The system wasn't ready for a raw talent that simply demanded attention on merit alone. Then came the most insane jump in Formula One history. In 2000, Peter Sauber, the team owner, spotted Kimi at a Formula Renault test. After just one brief session, he was so sold, he offered Kimi an F1 seat for the 2001 season. This was so gutsy that Sauber ran the test in secret, giving the young Finn the code name Eskimo. Because Kimi was instantly half a second quicker than the team's veteran driver, the FIA almost banned the whole thing. They argued Kimi had only 23 total car races. Most drivers had hundreds, and they literally had to invent new super license rules just because of him. But Sauber fought, and somehow this Finnish nobody with zero connections landed in F1. And what was the emotional, high-pressure state of the man who just broke the system? Reportedly, Kimi was sound asleep 30 minutes before the start of his debut race, the 2001 Australian Grand Prix, Kimi's first F1 season. Everyone expected him to crash, to struggle, to be overwhelmed by the speed and complexity. Instead, he finished 10th in the championship, earning 9 points that season, in a Sauber that was basically a mobile chicane that year. Kimi dragged that car to points finishes it had no business achieving. His very first race in Australia proved it. He scored a point immediately. The sight of Kimi in the points that truly stunned the paddock, and McLaren took notice immediately. It only took one sensational season for that notice to turn into a contract. 2002 brings the big move to McLaren. Kimi joins the team, replacing the legendary Mika Häkkinen. Suddenly, he's scary fast. 4 podiums in his first season with a top team, including his first career podium in Australia. His McLaren was fast but fragile and determined to sabotage him. Engine failures, hydraulic problems, suspension issues. But when the car held together, Kimi was untouchable. He finished 6th in the championship, and McLaren knew they found something special. 2003 is where Kimi announces himself to the world. His first win comes at Malaysia, after starting 7th in the grid. And we see peak Kimi behavior.
Kimi Räikkönen, 23 years old, wins his first Grand Prix for McLaren. It's back-to-back victories.
After winning his first Grand Prix, the media expects the usual rookie celebration. Tears of joy, emotional interviews, calls to his parents. What do they get? Kimi shrugged and said, "It was not too bad actually, I was expecting it to be more difficult." He then noted he was just driving around for the final 20 laps, saving his engine. Then he goes to a bar. He finished the season with 10 podiums, fighting Michael Schumacher for the championship. He lost the title by just 2 points, a heartbreaking margin separating him from beating the greatest driver of all time in only his third F1 season. And here's the best part. Win or lose, Kimi's post-race routine never changes. Podium or retirement, championship fight or mid-pack finish, he's hitting the same bars, drinking the same drinks, treating it all with the same casual indifference. To understand his mindset further, consider what happened in the off-season of 2003. Kimi got drunk after a ski trip in Finland. He woke up the next morning and was found by his friends asleep, standing up inside a large drying cabinet. He had gotten his ski jumping suit wet, and rather than just hang it up, he set the cabinet to 45 degrees Celsius, climbed inside, and slept there for 10 hours until his suit and he were completely dry. That was Kimi, committed, strange, and completely unbothered by normal human constraints. In November 2004, the legend of the Iceman solidified into something mythical. Following the F1 season, Kimi went to Gran Canaria. After a 7-hour bender in the bars of the Playa del Ingles resort, he stopped for a rest. It was in that uncompromising position that he was snapped by the paparazzi, unconscious and hugging a giant inflatable dolphin. The photo went instantly viral. After he awoke with a sore head, the then McLaren driver was asked to explain himself to the media at a press conference. Kimi offered the ultimate minimalist justification. "I'm sorry, I had a few drinks. I was dancing. Why was I riding an inflatable dolphin? Because why not? This was a man who treated the world's most glamorous high-stakes sport like a hobby that occasionally interfered with his preferred pastime, getting drunk." 2004, the McLaren is uncompetitive early in the season, but mid-year they bring in the MP4-19B upgrade. The car still wasn't a consistent winner, but it gave Kimi blistering pace, resulting in 4 podiums. But the one win at Belgium was pure poetry. Spa-Francorchamps, the most demanding circuit in F1. Kimi starts poorly but carves through the field like he's playing a video game on easy mode. He passes Fernando Alonso like he's standing still. Then he hunts down Michael Schumacher, in his prime in a Ferrari, and overtakes him for the lead. The move is so clean, so perfectly executed, that even Schumacher later admits he couldn't do anything about it. That Spa win showed everyone what Kimi can do with proper machinery. The McLaren was a mess to start the 2005 season. But once the team sorted the car, Kimi became untouchable. He was a terrifying mix of speed and aggression, going on an absolute rampage of 7 total wins. Spain, Monaco, Canada, Hungary, Turkey, Belgium, and Japanese Grand Prix. He took 3 consecutive pole positions, but fought Fernando Alonso for the title, despite suffering 3 retirements while leading a race, a run of bad luck so severe it led to a rule change. His speed culminated in his most famous performance at the Japanese Grand Prix. After starting 17th on the grid, he sliced through the entire field, eventually setting up a final lap showdown with race leader Giancarlo Fisichella. The pass he needed would have to happen at the high-speed 130R corner, a move rarely attempted. With no other option, Kimi passed Fisichella on the final lap to take the lead and the victory. The move became an instant classic. Kimi's reaction was the equivalent of tears of joy. He called it one of my best races ever, and admitted he really enjoyed myself. Despite his genius, the 2005 championship title slipped away due to the reliability issues. He lost to Fernando Alonso by 21 points. But the true injustice was the number of times his McLaren failed him. 7 wins in a single season, and he still lost the title. Without those catastrophic failures, he wins the championship easily. However, 2006 brings heartbreak. 0 wins. After dominating 2005, the McLaren became unreliable again, delivering 6 podiums but no victories. Kimi's indifference to the corporate F1 world was never clearer. His complete lack of respect for pomp was evident at the 2006 Brazilian Grand Prix. While football icon Pelé stood waiting for him at a special podium ceremony, Kimi was nowhere to be seen. His excuse to Martin Brundle later?
Kimi, you missed the presentation by Pelé.
Yeah.
Will you get over it?
Yeah, I was having a shit.
Later that season, at the Monaco Grand Prix, his engine blows up spectacularly mid-race, forcing him to retire. What does Kimi do? Instead of trudging back to the pit wall for a mandatory debrief, he famously walks straight out of the paddock, found a dinghy, and headed to his personal yacht docked in the harbour, strips down and is caught on camera sipping a drink in the sun while the race is still running. The message to his team and the F1 establishment was unmistakable. I'm done with this car. He was tired of wrestling a machine that was fighting him every weekend. And he was ready for the fresh start that came next. His World Championship winning move to Ferrari. Kimi's entire approach to life perfectly captured his genius and his rebellion. True to the Iceman's nature, and a massive admirer of 1970s Playboy racer James Hunt, Kimi secretly entered a snowmobile endurance race under Hunt's name in 2007. This was shortly after signing his high-stakes Ferrari contract, which specifically forbade dangerous activities. When the story inevitably broke that their new champion was racing snowmobiles under an alias, his team principal probably aged 5 years in 5 minutes, Kimi's attitude remained the same. "I thought it would be fun." He even won the race. But while everyone was laughing at the Finnish driver who couldn't follow basic contract rules, they were missing something crucial. This wasn't just some party boy who happened to be fast. This was a racing savant who understood something about competition that his more professional rivals never grasped. This attitude would become his superpower. With that mindset, Kimi finally steps into the legendary red overalls for the 2007 season, and everyone expects him to crumble under the pressure. As an institution, Ferrari carries a unique burden. The team is synonymous with crushing expectations and complex internal politics, all under the constant, relentless heat of the Italian media. The season started with a false dawn for Kimi. He won the opening Grand Prix in Australia. However, this early triumph was quickly followed by a string of frustrating races and mechanical issues. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton, the rookie sensation, was rocketing onto the scene with a record 9 consecutive podium finishes, looking like the undisputed next big thing. Fernando Alonso, the two-time world champion, was also immediately in the mix with McLaren. By mid-season, the media had written Kimi off. Despite that early win, they focused on his inconsistency, saying he wasn't hungry enough or didn't have the killer instinct. Then, something beautiful happens. While Hamilton and Alonso are getting caught up in McLaren's internal politics and Spygate scandal, while they're feeling the pressure and making mistakes, Kimi remains impervious to the drama. He simply showed up, drove the wheels off the car, and checked out. He may have started slow, but as the season reached its critical point, the true speed of the unbothered Finn was unleashed. When he did start winning, it was spectacular. France, then Britain, then Belgium, then China and Brazil. 6 wins total, 12 podiums. He's in a 3-way title fight with Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, and he's the calmest person in the paddock. Thanks to a spectacular drive in China, where Lewis Hamilton retired, Kimi had improbably closed a 17-point deficit to keep his championship hopes alive for the finale. At the final race in Brazil, Hamilton needs to finish 5th or better to win the championship. Alonso needs to win and hope Hamilton struggles. Kimi needs to win and hope both of them have problems. Guess what happens? Hamilton's McLaren develops a gearbox problem and drops to 7th. Alonso gets stuck behind slower cars. And Kimi wins the race and the championship by 1 single point.
Kimi Räikkönen wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. His first victory here, the 15th of his career, and by no doubt.
The man who supposedly didn't care enough had just pulled off one of the greatest championship comebacks in F1 history. While his rivals were choking under pressure, the Iceman delivered when it mattered most. The World Championship had been decided. He had reached the pinnacle of motorsport, the moment every driver dreams of since they're 5 years old. But this is Kimi Räikkönen, and he delivered his greatest, most perfectly anticlimactic legend. Kimi performed his official duties, the podium, the press conference where he thanked his team. But the moment the doors opened, he left, signaling the beginning of his own long and wild celebration. He partied with his team, which famously culminated in drinking champagne and vodka on his personal vessel, the Iceman Yacht. When journalists finally tracked him down the next day, he was still in yesterday's clothes, looking disheveled. The global consensus was clear. Kimi treated the World Championship like an interruption to his party. His indifference was Kimi's true champion persona. He didn't act like a champion, but he sure drove like one. In 2008, Kimi won Malaysia and Spain, finished 3rd in the championship, and set an F1 record with 10 fastest laps in a single season. But he loses the title to Hamilton. His reaction to losing? There's always next year. Then goes skiing. However, a driver with Kimi's mindset requires a winning car to stay interested, and the poorly performing F60 chassis in 2009 quickly tested his patience. 2009 was Kimi's final season of his first Ferrari stint. The car is struggling, the team is having issues, but Kimi still manages to win Belgium, Ferrari's only victory of the season. After the win, a journalist asked him about his future. "I don't know, maybe I'll go rallying or something." He's literally considering leaving F1 in his prime because he's bored. In 2010, Ferrari didn't renew Kimi's contract, bringing in Fernando Alonso instead. Most drivers would be devastated, would fight tooth and nail to stay in F1. But Kimi goes rallying. The Iceman approached the World Rally Championship like it was the most natural thing in the world, competing for 2 full seasons. And he was far from terrible, winning his first special stage and finishing 10th overall in the championship in both 2010 and 2011. The man can apparently drive anything fast. Kimi even briefly dabbled into NASCAR in 2011, competing in the Truck and Nationwide Series in the USA. But F1 keeps calling. After 2 years of dirt, asphalt and stock cars, 2012 saw Lotus offer him a chance at a comeback. Most drivers, returning after 2 years away, would be rusty and would need time to readjust. Kimi's return was immediately spectacular. He finished the comeback season with 7 podiums and 3rd place in the championship, but it was defined by the one legendary quote. That attitude culminated later in the season at the 2012 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. While leading and managing his tyres, Kimi's engineer kept giving him complex instructions. Kimi finally delivered the line that defines his entire career.
Okay, Kimi, next car behind you is Alonso. I'll keep you updated on the pace.
Just leave me alone, I know what to do.
The message was an instant legend, the perfect encapsulation of his relationship with authority. Kimi won his first race back, securing the first victory for the Lotus team in 25 years.
It's Kimi Räikkönen back on top as he wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
His 2013 season with Lotus started perfectly. Kimi wins the season opener in Australia, his 20th career victory, 8 podiums total. But then things got dark fast. Lotus stopped paying him. The reason for the dispute is a piece of Kimi legend. His contract included a wild clause, €50,000 for every single point he scored. Lotus was broke and bet Kimi would score low, but Kimi drove like a champion, stacking up an unpayable debt of nearly €20 million in bonuses. He was quite literally too fast for the team's bank account. Even with the team collapsing and €20 million on the line, Kimi's legendary indifference never wavered. The financial turmoil was reaching a peak, but Kimi remained impervious to the drama. Following the Bahrain Grand Prix, while the team scrambled to find money, Kimi simply disappeared for 16 days of non-stop partying across Europe. The team couldn't track him down. When he finally rolled up to the Spanish Grand Prix, he was probably medically hungover. Yet, vintage Kimi, he still finished second on the podium. The season eventually ended the only way it could. With the financial and working relationship broken, Kimi quit the team entirely before the final 2 races, delivering the simplest F1 ultimatum ever. If you don't pay me, I don't drive. In 2014, Kimi returned to Ferrari for his second stint, but the new V6 turbo hybrid regulations have changed everything. The car is uncompetitive, and Kimi struggles with the new technology.
Why has 2014 been a slow start for you?
For many reasons. The front doesn't work very well for me. It's very hard to drive it as I want.
0 wins, 0 podiums. He finished 12th in the championship. For most drivers, this would be career-ending embarrassment. For Kimi, it's just another season. 2015 brings improvement. 3 podiums alongside new teammate Sebastian Vettel. Kimi's return was solid, proving he was still a frontrunner, even if his relationship with the team radio remained minimalistic. Kimi continued to streamline the communication. When his engineer tried to give him complex strategy information, Kimi famously cut him off. Just tell me when to pit. His attitude toward the tyres was equally philosophical. They're fine until they're not. Pure Kimi logic in a world of data. 2016 and 2017 saw Kimi back at Ferrari as the veteran, now playing supporting runner to Sebastian Vettel. He stacked up more podiums, proving he was still one of the fastest drivers in the world, but his greatest story of this era was pure F1 politics. It happened at the 2017 Monaco Grand Prix. Kimi took pole position, the most prestigious qualifying session in F1. The win was his for the taking, but Ferrari had other priorities. They pitted Kimi first, effectively sacrificing his track position and handing the lead and ultimately the victory to his teammate Sebastian Vettel. It was a classic cold-blooded case of the Ferrari corporate structure prioritizing the championship contender, brutally crushing Kimi's chance for a legendary win at the perfect moment. In 2018, Kimi reminds us why he's so special. At age 39, driving for Ferrari, he ended a 113-race winless streak at the United States Grand Prix, his first win in over 5 years.
Kimi Räikkönen wins the US Grand Prix!
The emotion he showed was fleeting but perfect. Over the radio, he famously replied to his engineer,
Well done, my friend. Thank you. Finally.
However, he was quick to check the fanfare. After climbing out of the car, he shrugged off the achievement. It's been a much bigger deal for other people, he said, adding he was only happy because he just proved some people wrong. True to form, he wore his sunglasses on the podium and was the first to start swigging the champagne, completely uninterested in the ceremony. He finished the season with 12 podiums and third in the championship. But no moment defined his final years more than the 2018 FIA Gala, where he was being honored for finishing third in the championship.
Please welcome our third and second place drivers, Kimi Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel.
The ceremony is the most formal corporate event on the F1 calendar, and Kimi showed up visibly drunk. He slurred his way through interviews, heckled his former teammate Sebastian Vettel on stage, and generally behaved like a rock star who had been dragged to a shareholder meeting. It was a final glorious middle finger to the corporatization of the sport. 2019, Ferrari drops him again, and Kimi moves to Alfa Romeo, essentially returning to where it all started with Sauber. This move made Kimi, at age 40, one of the few full-time drivers in the sport to compete past his 40th birthday since Michael Schumacher's second career, proving Kimi's love for the simple act of driving was unwavering. 2020 and 2021 were Kimi's final curtain calls at Alfa Romeo, a full-circle return to the Sauber team, where his career began. With the car firmly in the mid-pack, Kimi was free to focus entirely on the pure act of driving, ignoring the complex F1 world around him. His famous radio mantra, which perfectly captured his self-centered focus on performance, was, "I don't want to hear what they are doing, I want to know what we are doing." As he left the sport, his final thoughts on the F1 establishment were typically blunt. He felt it had become too political and ridiculous. This refusal to play the team game defined his time in the midfield right to the very end. When the 2021 season wrapped up and his final race was cut short by a brake issue, the sport prepared for a moving farewell. But Kimi, true to form, wasn't sentimental. He dismissed the mechanical failure as something that doesn't matter, stating he was looking forward to a normal life, and that he had no plans for the future. He described his 20-year run simply as a good ride, confirming he only ever tolerated the F1 world for the pure, unadulterated pleasure of driving fast. "I don't care how I'm remembered, because I've luckily been able to do most things how I wish to do it," Raikkonen concluded. So what made Kimi different? What was his secret sauce that allowed him to succeed while completely ignoring everything the sport told him he should do? It started with his relationship with the media. While other drivers were hiring PR consultants and media trainers, Kimi was perfecting the art of the one-word answer. "How was the car today, Kimi?" "Good." "Any message for your fans?" "No." The media hated it, calling him difficult.
"Kimi, hi. What can you tell me about the new car?"
"I don't know."
"Faster than the old car?"
"I don't know."
All right.
What they didn't understand is that Kimi had figured out something profound. The less you say, the more people listen. Every word he did utter carried weight. Kimi's approach to the actual racing was almost a rejection of the modern era. He wasn't one for obsessing over data, telemetry, or analyzing every microsecond. For Kimi, genius was a matter of pure instinct. He simply trusted his feeling and understood the car on a level that defied quantification. His engineers would come with pages of complex graphs. Kimi would glance at them and say, "The car is good," or "The car is bad." That was his technical feedback, and somehow it worked. The truth everyone missed about the Iceman. His trademark simplicity wasn't ignorance, it was clarity. In a sport obsessed with control, Kimi was chaos that worked. He treated Formula One like a job he happened to be exceptionally good at, but still just a job. December 12th, 2021, Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Kimi Räikkönen's final race, 349 race starts, 21 wins, 103 podiums, 1 World Championship. The cameras waited for the emotional farewell. What did they get? Kimi walked away from his Alfa Romeo, taking off his helmet and saying, "It was more like a hobby for me." A hobby. 20 years, a world championship, and it was just a hobby. He proved that you don't need to play politics or manage your image to be legendary. He won the right to be himself. Completely, unapologetically, and forever. So, was Kimi Räikkönen the last real Formula One driver? Do you think we'll ever see another driver like Kimi again? Or did the sport bury its last bit of rebellion with him? Let me know below. Just try to keep your answers under 5 words. Kimi would have liked that. If you think F1 needs more drivers who don't care about anything except going fast, smash that like button and subscribe. Because we're just getting started with F1's most legendary misfits.